Hi everyone, welcome to another episode of Book Chat. It's Penny again, and as you can see, I have no books in front of me this week. That's because I'm not talking about books specifically, but bookish things. So just bear with me for a moment. Outside it is, I don't know what season it is. It's second spring, false spring. I'm not sure. It's going to be 80 this weekend. It might snow again next week. I have no idea. But the nice weather, thinking of this weekend, has got me thinking about summer. In the summer, I'm in my car a lot, either driving to or from vacation or a cabin or driving my children to sports things or summer camps. And obviously, I can't read and drive at the same time. Wish I could, can't. And unfortunately, I'm also one of those people that can't passenger and read at the same time. I don't feel well if that happens, so I need to get my bookish fix in a different way. And I can do audiobooks. We have done those in the past, but what I really like are podcasts. Now, most of you probably know what podcasts are, but in case you don't, a podcast is a series of spoken word episodes revolving around one general theme. For example, I have some pop culture trivia podcasts that I follow. My youngest son and I just finished a series called 30 Animals That Make Us Smarter, produced by the BBC. There are cleaning podcasts that I follow. There are some motivational ones that I follow. One of our favorite ones are some old-timey radio shows with murder and suspense. They are fantastic. They're a lot of fun to listen to with my kids. But it stands to reason that if they all revolve around one general theme, then there are podcasts out there about books. And here I am to recommend some podcasts to you. Some I've listened to, some I've heard about, but they all revolve around books in some way, shape, or form. So the first one I want to recommend, if any of you are around my age, you may remember Reading Rainbow. I loved Reading Rainbow. And I can still hear LeVar Burton's voice as he would read those books aloud during the episodes. So I was thrilled to find that there is a podcast called LeVar Burton Reads. And it is, I believe, a weekly podcast. Again, podcasts can vary for when they're released. Some people release every day. Some are once a week. Some are once a month. It just depends on what their schedule is. But the LeVar Burton Reads, he chooses a short story. And it's about 45 to 60 minutes in length. Some of the authors that he's read: Ray Bradbury, Octavia Butler, Haruki Murakami. There are so many great authors that he has done, and he just has such a soothing, fantastic voice. So I highly recommend listening to his podcast, but you don't have to take my word for it. Now, fictional is another one I'd like to recommend. It's by Jason and Carissa Weiser. So, say you pick up a book like The Count of Monte Cristo. You feel like you should read it. And it is a good story. But boy, is it long. And the language is a bit flowery sometimes. And so Jason Weiser reads these books and does a short summary of them, usually an episode or two. But the fun thing about him is that he has quite a sense of humor, and so he also will add in snark. It's a retelling, a modern retelling, but he'll say something like, Sherlock Holmes says we should go to that room, and Watson says, yes, because we didn't just go there 5 pages ago and found absolutely nothing in it. Of course you're right, Sherlock. We should go to that room. So it definitely is kind of a laugh out loud podcast. It gives you the basic bones of the story, but as I said, with a modern retelling, and that little bit of sassiness that he puts in is just phenomenal. He and his wife also produce another one called Myths and Legends. And I bring it up because they may be oral myths and legends or written myths and legends, but they're from all around the world. And again, he retells them in a very easy to understand episodes, very wonderful language, and again, with that signature snark. I've been listening to that one myself for a long time. So I think that it's highly recommended. I do say, though, that if you want to listen to it with younger children, you may want to listen to the episodes first, just because there are sometimes references. If you're familiar with any of the classic myths and legends, especially Greek mythology, Zeus is a little bit of a wild guy. And so you may want to listen to him first and just make sure that it's okay for your kids to listen to. Speaking of kids, though, if you want one for kids, one of my new favorite ones is called Greeking Out. It is put on by National Geographic Kids. And the reason I love this is because it is interactive with books. It's linked to a series of books that we actually have here at the library, Zeus Almighty. And it's about a hamster named Zeus and a cat named Athena and a pufferfish named Poseidon and a pug named Ares. And they all live in a pet store in Athens, Georgia. And so they go on these adventures. I believe the first book in the series is called The Quest for the Golden Fleas, as in Fleas, the little creatures probably living on the pug. And it's a cute twist on that. The podcast Greeking Out will tell different myths and legends. There's only 3 books out in this series so far. They'll tell a lot more of them, but it utilizes characters that are in the books. And so it really is an interactive option for kids that they can listen to this podcast and they can say, hey, I read about them in that book. Or they can read the book and say, hey, I remember this from the podcast. I love things like that expand their learning. So Greeking Out is another great one. The next one has a special place in my heart because it's librarians. Technically, the title of the podcast is Professional Book Nerds, and it is put on by Overdrive. If any of you do ebooks or audiobooks, that is the app that our library uses for checking those out. And so it's librarians and guest authors. They discuss books they've read, recommendations, upcoming releases. So that one's a good one to check out. I really enjoy it. It's from librarians. I believe some of them are in Canada. Some of them are in the United States. They're pretty spread out. So it's great to get a really diverse idea of what everyone is reading. Another one is What Should I Read Next? And it is put on by a woman who's been blogging for years under the name of Modern Mrs. Darcy, in case we have any Jane Austen fans out there. And again, she does interviewing other authors, what they like, what they don't like as far as reading goes, what they'd recommend. And it's a really great way, as I said with podcasts before, you can pick your episodes. So you can scroll down through the episodes and go, oh, there she is talking about the new Kristen Hanna book. I really like that one, so I'm going to tune in and find out what other people who like that book might like. And she's just a joy to listen to. One that I found researching this episode of Book Chat is called The Slowdown. It's a small dose of poetry. The majority of them were 5 minutes long. And they do deal with current events. They're very thought-provoking. It's actually produced in partnership with the Poetry Foundation, and it's supported in part by the National Endowment of the Arts. I find it a very worthwhile podcast. And as I said, it's only 5 minutes. It's a great one to do if, you're doing dishes even or something, and you can put that on to listen. The last one I want to mention is By the Book. And By the Book is, as they describe it, half reality show, half self-help podcast, and one wild social experiment. It's 2 women who, they are comedians, one of them is a comedian and one is a culture critic. They read the same self-help book and then they spend 2 weeks practicing that self-help book. And then they come back and tell what they have learned or not learned. And it does help to have a comedian into the mix. It really is lighthearted and humorous. And some of the self-help books they found very helpful. And some not so much. Now, these were just some general ones. If you're looking for something specific, everything is out there. There are plenty of Harry Potter ones. I found one that was called SFF Yeah, which is science fiction and fantasy. Also one called The Legendarium. That one sounds like a fantastic one for science fiction and fantasy. Hurry Up and Read dissects Christian books that were coming out. Smart Podcast Trashy Books. That one is romance novels. Hey YA, classic and contemporary YAs. And I'm going to throw this last one out there because it may or may not be directed at one of our staff members. If you remember watching a book chat a few weeks ago, there's one called Celebrity Book Club, which is all about celebrity memoirs, specifically female celebrity memoirs. I glanced through the list. I saw Jessica Simpson on there. I believe Mariah Carey. I believe Carney Wilson was also one of the books that they had on there. It sounded like a very interesting one, and some of these memoirs do get kind of trashy. So I'm pretty sure that I know who I'm going to be recommending that one to. So if you have any podcasts that you like, whether they're book related or not, please drop us a line. You can tell us in person. You can leave it on our Facebook page. I'd love to hear from you. I'm always looking for new podcasts to listen to. Have a great week.